Hello, everyone. So, the beginning of a new month, that is April 2023. Yes, 2023. So, let's see what we have to decide this month. One thing that I'll be taking, at least 2 days in a week, I'll be taking the lengthier article that we have on the editorial page only. I started with this from today itself. So I'll repeat at least 2 days I'll be taking the longer article that is there on the editorial page because we'll be able to understand a lengthier passage, how to do that also. Secondly, we'll be able to accumulate more words. So you'll be able to enrich your vocabulary in this manner because most of the words will be repeated from somewhere or the other. You'll be coming across those words. So, the first article in 2024, an uneven field. Let's do with the reading. The BJP's attack on Rahul Gandhi, including his parliamentary disqualification, has two dimensions: the conjunctural and the structural. The structural you can understand, conjunctural you should understand with the word conjunction, that is, connection. The conjunctural issue is simply this. In a webinar at Brown University on March 16, 2021, moderated by me and another at Harvard shortly thereafter, chaired by Ambassador Nicholas Burns, Rahul's arguments about the threats to Indian democracy were the same as at Cambridge University earlier this month. The latter led to an unending BJP chorus for an apology from Rahul. The former did not. What has changed? Rahul's Bharat Jodo Yatra and/or his parliamentary questioning of the allegedly collusive Modi-Adani links constitute the best hypothesis. So the author is coming up with why is all this going against Rahul Gandhi, right? Why are they demanding an apology? Why is there a chorus which was not there earlier? So they have mentioned two incidents, incident one, incident two. इंसिडेंट वन पे जो रिएक्शन था लोगों का जो रिस्पॉन्स था वो अलग था इंसिडेंट टू पे जो रिस्पॉन्स है या रिएक्शन है वो अलग है difference what the author is suggesting here, hypothesizing here, is this that he had questioned the collusive Modi Adani. Collusive का मीनिंग आ जाएगा तुम्हारे पास दोनों का कनेक्शन, मोदी और अदानी का लिंक्स, राइट? तो इस पे क्वेश्चन दिया था. Now, but the primary purpose of this column is structural. For some time now, I have taken the position that India is still an electoral democracy, though it has been declining as a liberal democracy. I have underlined these two, highlighted these two words, electoral democracy and liberal democracy. So I hope you have kept your notebooks and your pen ready with you. Note down these two words. This is what you have to read in the coming week. And I'll give you one more word, राइट तो ये दो हैं एक और वर्ड है लिबरलिज्म अभी आएगा कहीं पे ये तीन वर्ड्स लिख लो तीन वर्ड्स के बारे में आप नेट पे थोड़ा सा और पढ़ लेना जस्ट रीडिंग आई एम नॉट टेलिंग यू टू मेक अ लॉट ऑफ नोट्स और राइट डाउन समथिंग और सो नथिंग जस्ट रीड सो दैट योर माइंड कैन डाइजेस्ट ऑल दिस समझ में आ जाएगा electoral democracy though it has been declining as a liberal democracy I have often been asked how long this double life electoral fervor with liberal decline can continue. Sweden's Vidhigya Institute, widely noted, has already been calling India an electoral autocracy. This is another word. I have thus far disagreed, and I still believe that an electoral autocracy is not a certain denouement, but the events are going in that direction. So that is not the ultimate thing, but the events are pointing in that direction. Now, the larger debate about Indian democracy is linked to two underlying questions, right? So, this is the author giving you the primary purpose of what he is writing, that whether India is declining in the democracy. Liberal democracy पूरी तरीके से नहीं है, इलेक्टोरल डेमोक्रेसी नहीं है, तो क्या चल रहा है अभी? इलेक्टोरल ऑटोक्रेसी. ठीक है, तो these are the three terms that the author has used. You kindly note them down and read about them. So, the larger debate about Indian democracy is linked to two underlying questions. Why is the distinction between electoral and liberal democracy maintained? And why is the distinction now beginning to disappear? You'll फोकस ऑन दीज टू क्वेश्चंस, क्योंकि इन दो क्वेश्चंस के जवाब अभी देंगे तो हमें पैसेज अभी तक समझ में कितना आया है दैट ही मेंशन द टू इंसिडेंट्स फर्स्ट, सेकंड ही गेव द स्टेटमेंट ऑफ द डिक्लाइन ऑफ इंडिया बीइंग सीन इन द गवर्नेंस, डेमोक्रेसी कैसी है, इलेक्टोरल नाउ और नॉट लिबरल, नाउ इलेक्टोरल ऑटोक्रेसी. The questions that the author is raising, why is there a distinction between the two? Conceptually, democratic theory distinguishes the electoral from the liberal. This is conceptually. The electoral dimension is about whether elections are free and fair and whether all adult citizens can vote. No elections, no democracy is a widely accepted dictum. But that is only the minimal definition. The liberal dimension is about broader requirements which not only include elections but also cover what happens between elections. ठीक है, तो हमें इलेक्टोरल डेमोक्रेसी में सिर्फ इलेक्ट करने की बात थी, इसका मतलब वोट करने की बात थी. लेकिन लिबरल डेमोक्रेसी, एज द वर्ड सजेस्ट, विल बी टॉकिंग मोर अबाउट द राइट्स और द फ्रीडम दैट द पीपल एंजॉय इन बिटवीन द टू times of election or voting. Now, for democracy to be meaningful between elections, a polity must allow its citizens at least 4 civil liberties and one significant safeguard. The 4 liberties are freedom of expression, freedom of association, non-state organizations, or what is termed as civil society, freedom of religion and freedom to move. ये 4 जो basic freedoms है, civil liberties है, ये उन्हें देनी चाहिए. The final requirement is minority safeguards, an idea that appeared strongly only after Second World War. Minority safeguards. So, in the interwar continental group, minorities were hounded and millions killed. Hounded का मतलब होता है ढूंढ ढूंढ के उनको मारा जाना. Right? Hounds होते हैं ना, जैसे hounds are dogs. Right? So, in that way, minorities were hounded and millions were killed. It was even claimed that if the majority community so wished, discrimination as well as violence against minorities did not fundamentally violate the principle of popular will. But this, what he's talking about is in the Second World War and a brief description of what had happened in the Second World War. तो अभी तक पूरा पैसेज क्या चल रहा है? Distinguishing between the electoral democracy and liberal democracy, India coming towards electoral autocracy. Why so? What is the difference? Then he says that see, electoral democracy is that the people are allowed to vote, and liberal democracy is where the people are given a few liberties in between those elections. And what are those liberties given here? अभी तक हमारे पास ये पूरा flow चला है. Now, why are these? Okay, these are the 4 liberties. One was the safeguard. So, what safeguard is required is the minority safeguard. And what is minority safeguard is being explained here or exemplified here in this case of World War II. Right? So, after 1945, it became clear to political thinkers and statesmen that while democracy was indeed based on majority rule, this principle could not be allowed to legitimate majoritarian hatred and violence. तो मेजॉरिटी तो रूल करेगा डेमोक्रेसी में, लेकिन इससे उनको कोई हक नहीं मिल जाता है, लीगल हक नहीं मिल जाता है, लेजिटिमेट, कि मेजॉरिटेरियन हेट्रेड एंड वायलेंस. सो मेजॉरिटी में जो है उन्हें ये लीगल राइट नहीं मिल जाता है दैट दे वुड बी हेटिंग और यूजिंग वायलेंस अगेंस्ट द माइनॉरिटीज. तो माइनॉरिटीज का सेफगार्ड होना जरूरी है. So democracy without minority rights could easily become an instrument of majoritarian oppression. ठीक है, तो जो मेजॉरिटी है वो माइनॉरिटी को ऑप्रेस करेगी, उनके ऊपर जुल्म करेगी. अगर ये माइनॉरिटी सेफगार्ड नहीं होता है तो minority rights thus became sacrosanct. Right? So this was the reason why minority safeguard was required. Right? Now, it was also recognized that the judiciary, not technically under majoritarian pressures, was the best institution to protect civil liberties and minority rights. ये हो गया उसने एंड में कि जुडिशरी जो है उसका काम क्या रहेगा, वो सिविल लिबर्टीज भी देगी लोगों को और माइनॉरिटी सेफगार्ड्स जो था उसको भी हैंडल करेगी. राइट, सो दीज वर द 2 things that are required in the liberal democracy. Now, in India, such liberalism never received the full adherence of politicians and society, but the erosion since 2014 has been unmistakably severe. Combining state and societal action, an attack on Muslim minority rights commenced with Dadri and other lynchings as early as 2015, continued through love jihad, anti-beef, and anti-hijab campaigns, acquired discriminatory legal form with the Citizenship Amendment Act, which made Indian become worse, citizenship unavailable to Muslim refugees from the neighborhood, allowing all others, and culminated in the bulldozer campaign. Culminated is resulted, ended. Finally, क्या हुआ? Bulldozer campaigns, mostly against Muslim businesses and properties. Freedom of expression was increasingly curtailed for writers. Curtailed is cut, stopped, right? Prevented. ये नहीं दिया गया था उन्हें. Freedom of expression was increasingly curtailed. It was only thwarted, cut. Journalists, academics, and artists and civil society was undermined. In November 2021, India's National Security Advisor openly argued that civil society was the next frontier of war. इस basis पे war हो सकता है. That is what the National Security Advisor stated. Right? Now, one thing I would suggest when you are reading such articles, do not get involved in them. The sole purpose, the sole objective of your reading such articles is to understand the author's point of view. That is it. To improve your vocabulary related to a topic, that is it. Right? So don't form your own opinions. Stick to what is given. Paradoxically, while all of this was going on, elections remained vigorously contested. Doubts have been expressed about whether the Election Commission and or the new electoral bonds have tilted the scales in favor of the BJP. But even if they have, and there is reason to believe that may be true, they haven't done so in a way that has fundamentally altered election results. From the viewpoint of democratic theory, the best evidence in favor of this claim is that even today, 12 out of 28 Indian states have non BJP governments, including West Bengal and Delhi, which Prime Minister Modi badly wanted to win but could not. The next elections may no longer allow this double script to continue. Bad as it is, Delhi's ire is no longer confined to descending artists. Ire is anger, no longer confined to descending artists, intellectuals, writers, minorities, and civil society organizations. Descending is those people who would cut themselves away from a particular belief. So they could be the rebels, the insurgents, right? Mavericks, rebels हो सकते हैं, non-conformist हो सकते हैं. जो उस particular belief को नहीं मानते हैं तो वो हट जाएंगे. Now the leaders of the opposition are also in the line of fire. The onslaught takes the form of criminal probes by investigation agencies and or the filing of criminal cases by the regime or its supporters, even as cases are dropped against those opposition leaders who joined the BJP. The famous Latin American proverb, for my friends everything and for my enemies the law, now has an Indian incarnation. Incarnation का मतलब होता है रूप ले लेना या personify करना किसी को या अवतार ले लेना. That is what he is saying. The law has now become an Indian thing, right? So this paragraph is still talking about what the situation is against the minorities. Now, all modern polities have agencies to investigate violation of laws by politicians and bureaucrats. Moreover, India's rulers since the 1970s have often used these agencies in a partisan manner. Partisan would be biased. But the scale is now astronomically different. Astronomically is on a huge scale. As this newspaper noted in an editorial arresting Mrs. Sisodia, we have, I think so, we have read about this, Mr. Sisodia. Of the 124 prominent politicians who had been under the CBI probe since 2014, as many as 118 are from the opposition, a staggering 95%. I remember this, up from 60% during the UPA years. This was as of September 2022. Since then, the skewing has become worse. Skewing is to be tilted. ठीक है और तुम लोग चेक भी कर सकते हो 28 फरवरी का एडिटोरियल देखकर you will get these words, I think. The barely concealed aim of this thrust is to weaken non BJP parties by jailing their popular leaders or by creating a climate of fear. As a result, the 2024 elections may not be free. In control of state power in Delhi and having immeasurable resources, an all powerful BJP may face emaciated opposition parties. If it is an all powerful BJP, so the opposition party would be a weakened one. Radically diminishing electoral contestation. Such diminution will undermine the electoral democracy claim. Of course, this upshot is not cast in stone. Not cast in stone मतलब fixed नहीं है और upshot का मतलब हो गया result जो इन्होंने सोचा है. That is not permanent, that is not fixed. At least two variables are critical. Which ones? Will the opposition parties, given that all are now mortally threatened, or will be in the next 5 years, fight the BJP in a united manner? ये एक question है. क्या ऐसा करेंगे? सब लोग मिल जाएंगे? And will the courts demonstrate their constitutional independence, not display craven subservience to the ruling regime? ठीक है? तो another thing is whether the court or the judiciary will still remain free of the ruling regime. That means the government. Indeed, since the emergency, the role of courts has never been as significant. India's democracy is teetering on the edge. मतलब किनारे पे है बिल्कुल कहीं पे भी वो that means it is like sitting on the fence, teetering on the edge. So teetering is shaking, right? So it is there. Whether all the opposition is going to be strong enough, united, or the court is going to maintain its constitutional independence and thus will not be subservient to the government. Subservience would mean to be submissive. क्योंकि अगर वो सबमिसिव होगी तो माइनॉरिटी को माइनॉरिटी सेफगार्ड्स नहीं मिल पाएंगे ठीक है तो द कोर्ट हैज टू बी इंडिपेंडेंट so though it was a lengthy article but we discussed we understood whatever we were reading तो यहाँ पे हमें प्रेप लगा सकते हैं प्रेप का मतलब क्या होता है ये तुम्हें पता है आई रिपीट पॉइंट reason or the rationale and example and then comes the author's main point जो कि वो पूरा सब को कंबाइन करके वो बोल देता है ठीक है तो यहाँ पे उसने पॉइंट्स क्या करी थी कि इंडिया इज चेंजिंग फ्रॉम अ or declining from a liberal democracy, it is becoming an electoral autocracy, right? What is happening? उसे पूरे examples दिए, whatever was there 2014, 2015, 2019, what all is happening with the minorities and all, right? Another reasoning that it gave was that, let's see, if it is declining from being an electoral or a liberal democracy, if it is declining from that position, so why is it declining and why do we say or how can we say that it is declining? So what is required in an electoral democracy or a liberal democracy is civil liberties should be given and the what was that minority safeguards was to be given, right? And if they do not get, that means the liberty is diminishing. Right? Then he comes up with the examples of what is happening with the people there of the opposition. Then he comes up with the question that what is now going to happen in the future, whether the opposition are going to unite or whether the court is going to agree to whatever the ruling party says. वो उस question पे रख लेता है. So let us see now the main point. An all-powerful BJP, ठीक है, all-powerful है, may face emaciated, weakened हमने कहा था opposition parties. Radically diminishing electoral contestation इसका मतलब वो जो electoral democracy थी या बोली जाती है ठीक है और जो ऑथर का फर्स्ट पॉइंट था कि इलेक्टोरल डेमोक्रेसी से वो डिक्लाइन कर रहा है और इलेक्टोरल ऑटोक्रेसी होता जा रहा है, राइट? दिस पॉइंट स्टिल is clear from this main idea. And we had understood this point from the reading of the passage only, right? So now let us see. Yes, words, we have quite many words today. What I have done is, क्योंकि बहुत ज़्यादा words हैं या मिलेंगे ऐसे वाले articles में, तो I am giving you only the simplest meaning of that word. And that is what you need to do. Come up with the simplest meaning so that you are able to remember the word. रट्टा नहीं लगाना और ये synonyms, antonyms कुछ नहीं होते. अपने आप में word समझ जाओगे तो you'll come up with the basic meaning of the words then. Emaciated will be wasted. Wasted in the sense कि thin. Now when the energy is used up, consumed, then to the person would be emaciated. राइट, तभी वो विदर्ड वर्ड है वहां पे. तुम विदर्ड लिख सकते हो जिसे थिन का मीनिंग आता है. इमेसिएटेड तो वीकन, वीक आ जाएगा. ये सिंपलेस्ट मीनिंग है उसका. और वीक को ही वेस्टेड बोलते हैं. वेस्टेड वो नहीं होता है दैट यू आर वेस्टिंग पेपर. ये नहीं है वेस्टेड. दैट इज, देयर इज अ वेस्टिंग डिजीज आल्सो. समथिंग दैट ईट्स यू अप, वो वेस्टिंग होता है. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे वेस्टेड या नहीं, द टाइम द एनर्जी हैज बीन ड्रेन्ड आउट. कंजंक्टिव, वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड कंजंक्शन एज आई सेड अर्लियर, तो कनेक्टेड इवेंट्स हो जाएंगे. कोल्यूसिव विल बी अ सीक्रेट कोऑपरेशन. कोल्यूड, एक साथ मिलके कुछ प्लान कर लेना, कंस्पायर कर लेना. फर्वर इज एंथुसियाज्म, विद ग्रेट फर्वर. एक फर्वेंट वर्ड भी आता है, सिमिलर है. नोटेड साइंटिस्ट हो सकता है, तो वेल नोन, पॉपुलर. पॉपुलर इतना नहीं होगा जितना हम डिस्टिंग्विश लिख सकते हैं इफ यू वांट टू राइट. Denominant is a conclusion, the result. Dictum, we have done this word in the root words also. Dictum would mean dict is to speak or to dictate. तो dictum का मतलब हो जाएगा auto. तो dictate भी इसका similar meaning हो सकता है. Hounded, pursued. As I had given ना, hounds तो dogs होते हैं. तो dogs ऐसे पीछा कर करके चोर को पकड़ लेते हैं. तो उसी हिसाब से hounded यानी पीछा कर करके उसको पकड़ना, that is pursued. Sacrosanct मतलब इतना sacred है. We have done this word also, sacro and sanct relates to being holy and sacred, right? So if these rules are sacrosanct का मतलब होता है कि इतने होली हैं कि उसे कोई वायलेट नहीं कर सकता है. तो inviolable will be the contextual meaning of that. Adherence, adhere, adhesive, related to adhesive, stick to. Severe, intense. लिंचिंग, लिंचिंग होता है ना विदाउट केस, विदाउट ट्रायल, कुछ भी नहीं होता है और सिर्फ उसे एग्जीक्यूट किया जाता है, तो दैट इज कॉल्ड लिंचिंग. तो इट इज हैंगिंग विदाउट अ ट्रायल. विदाउट अ ट्रायल भी बोल सकते हो. मतलब अगर ट्रायल होता है, केस चलता है, तब तो प्रॉपर होता है ना, जजमेंट आ जाएगा, सेंटेंस टू डेथ वाला. पर यहाँ पर ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है, तो उसे लिंचिंग कहते हैं. कल्मिनेटेड, कल्मिनेशन, कंक्लूजन. Undermined, you all know, weaken. Ire, I had written, anger, wrath. Dissenting is a non-conformist, similarly rebel. Onslaught, attack. Incarnation, कार्न is flesh. तो इनकारनेशन का मतलब होता है रूप ले लेना किसी पर्सन का, तो पर्सोनिफिकेशन हो गया. ठीक है, कान का मतलब होता है फ्लेश. पार्टिसन, यू हैव द वर्ड पार्ट हियर. पार्टिसन का मतलब होता है बाइज्ड होना, राइट? फेवर करना किसी को. Astronomical is vast. Staggering, staggering in this sense that you are so amazed कि यार ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है. ठीक है, a staggering rise, तो रुक रुक के, लेकिन it is mystifying, you can say. You are confounded by it. Amazed, confounded, कि ऐसा हो कैसे सकता है. Skewed is tilted, टेढ़ा होना. Diminution, diminish word आ जाता है यहाँ पे, dim. Reduction. अपशॉट, ये बहुत बार हो चुका है. रिजल्ट. मॉर्टली, मोर का मतलब होता है डेथ से रिलेटेड होता है. डेथ लाइक, ठीक है, या डेथ से रिलेटेड होता है तो मॉर्टल, मोरिबंड, मॉर्ग, यू गेट दीज वर्ड्स. फेटली, एक्सट्रीमली, क्रेवन, क्रेविंग वाला ना, जो वीक या फियरफुल वाला. कास्ट इन स्टोन, क्योंकि क्रेवन के साथ उसने दिया था वर्ड सबसर्वियंस. तो क्रेवन सबसर्वियंस का मतलब होता है टू बी सबमिटिव बट यू आर फियरफुल एंड यू गिव इन. कास्ट इन स्टोन इज परमानेंट एंड टीटरिंग इज शेकिंग. टीटरिंग ऑन द एज वाला शेकिंग हो गया. So that's all for today. I hope you have understood this. I hope you will go through the complete thing. I'm not going to take this lengthy article in the whole week. So get into that habit of reading. और जैसे पहले एक वाले आर्टिकल्स नहीं सुने हैं, एडिटोरियल्स नहीं सुने, नहीं देखे हैं, ये लेंदी लगेगा तो पहले जाके पिछले महीने के मार्च के एडिटोरियल्स काइंडली read them again and simultaneously read this also on the day so that you get into that habit of reading. That's all. Thank you and have a logical month ahead.